we're going to get farther behind. I want to pick up where we left off. I think this is where we left off. The other day on 208, 209. I'm going to try to get through this quickly and then get through the rest of Philosopher's Stone somewhat quickly. So we were talking about the mirror of Erised, and what realization does Harry come to looking in the mirror? Back up. What does he see? His parents? Who else?
Extended family.
His extended family? Who else?
Himself.
Himself. This is what's important. Should you see? No, I can't ask that question. I was going to ask, should you see yourself? Yes and no, okay? But Harry sees himself surrounded by his family, right? He doesn't know they're his family at first. He sees them. He thinks maybe the room's full of invisible people. He does that. Bottom of 208. She's crying, smiling but crying. The tall, thin man reaches his arms out, comforts, and Harry finally realizes, Mom, Dad, why is this so significant?
He's never seen them before.
Well, he did as a baby. He doesn't remember seeing them. Has he seen photographs of them? No. The Dursleys have no photographs of Harry's parents in the house. Do they ever talk about them? Do they ever say, Harry, you come from good people? No. Okay. What does Harry, up until Harry met Hagrid, what did Harry think about his parents?
They died in a car crash.
Because? That's what he was told. We're going to be told in book 3 why they kind of suggest they died. And it's not only coming from Aunt Marge there, by the way. We're going to be told in book 3 they died in a car crash because he was drunk. Ah, yeah. So Harry's got, ideas about his parents, and then Hagrid comes and blows him up, says, no, your parents were very powerful wizards, greatest dark wizard, Hitler came and got him, kind of a thing. Actually, more like Satan, but, Anyways, so they just look at him smiling, and slowly Harry looks at other people, and he sees other eyes like his, other hair like his, somebody's apparently wearing shorts, knobby knees like his, the whole 9 yards, okay? The Potters smiled, that is, all of them smiled and waved at Harry. And he stared hungrily back at them. Why? Why hungrily? Why does he have a hunger to see these people? You've already kind of answered it.
Because he's been starved of it.
What does... I no longer know what kind of questions I can even ask in a classroom. Why do a lot of people spend a lot of time on family genealogy?
They want to know where they came from.
They want to know where they came from. They need to know their origins. Why? Does knowing that my cousin, my brother will be able to tell you immediately exactly the relationship. My cousin, so many times removed, marched through Atlanta, burned Georgia, et cetera, et cetera. Does that affect me now? No, unless I go to certain parts of Georgia. When I was a student outside Chattanooga, we played a college student. We played a college down in Chattanooga, and as we were driving through in the vans, my teammates were yelling out, "We got Sherman in the bus!" And this is back in the early 80s. There's still a lot of bad memories, let's put it that way, in the South about Sherman. Okay? Why else?
It gives you a sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, sense of connectedness. It gives you a sense of continuity. It's like Harry just all of a sudden on his 11th birthday came into being, right? Everything he thought he knew was wrong or was a lie. That's why he has this hunger. The Potter smiled and waved. He stared hungrily back at them, his hands pressed flat against the glass, as though he was hoping to fall right through it and reach them. What's the allusion to? Through the looking glass. Okay? Lewis Carroll. Notice what was told. As though he was hoping to fall right through and reach them. Where are they?
They're dead.
They're dead. Does Harry want to join them?
To a degree.
To a degree, okay. He had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. How long he stood there, didn't know. Reflections don't fade. He looked and looked until he hears a noise, okay. He says, I'll come back. Tells Ron the next day, I'd like to see your mom and dad. Did Harry understand the inscription? I want to see all your family, Harry says. Okay? So, next night, they go back. Notice they both fit under the invisibility cloak. This thing's kind of amazing because, it seems almost to be magical in the sense that if you need it to cover 3 people, it can cover 3 people. 4 people, it just kind of gets larger and smaller as you need. It's kind of like the room of requirement. It's the invisibility cloak of requirement, as it were. Okay? So, page 210. Harry and Ron go back. Harry looks. There are his mother and father, beaming at him. Ron, I can't see anything. Harry, look at them. They're all there, loads of them. I can only see you. Where is Ron? Standing.
Adjacent from the mirror.
Diagonally. He can't see what Harry can see. So if Ron steps over and steps behind Harry, Ron's taller than Harry, looks over Harry's shoulder, would Ron see what Harry sees? No, he would not. It's showing Harry's heart's desire. So when Ron looks, he says, look at me. Harry, can you see all your family standing around you? No, I'm alone. Why?
Because Ron's grown up in a massive family and hasn't ever really been his own person. He's always just been a Weasley.
He's the second youngest of 7 children. Describe his brothers. Successful, what else? Just kind of middle of the road successful? Bill, Charlie, both what? Prefects. Percy?
Prefect.
And, coming up, head boy, okay? Friend George? Louder?
They're funny and everyone likes them.
They're funny and everybody likes them. Are they ace students?
No.
Could they be? Oh, yeah. They probably have brains more than Percy. They just don't apply themselves other than to practical jokes. Who would you rather spend more time with?
The twins.
Yeah, probably the twins, unless you got on their bad side, right? And then Katie bar the door because all holds barred. So, I'm alone, I'm different, I look older, and I'm head boy. When can you become head boy? 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, 6th year? 7th?
I thought it was 5th.
I thought it was 5th too.
5th is prefect.
5th is prefect, so it's got to be 6th. 6th or 7th?
Because they
Okay, 7th then. So, is he looking into the future? Possibly. Is this like the Mirror of Galadriel, where it may show you the truth, it may not show you the truth? We're going to hear what Dumbledore says in a moment, okay? And I'll wait till we get there. So, Harry, what? Now, when Harry asks what, does he just mean it's showing you what? Or does he mean you, head boy? Come on, Ron. How long has he known Ron?
6 months, 4 months.
He went to Diagon Alley. He didn't meet Ron at Diagon Alley. He didn't meet Ron until they got on platform 9 3/4, which was September 1st, and it's now after Christmas. So yeah, 4 months or so. I'm wearing the badge like Bill used to. So Bill was also head boy. And I'm holding the house cup and the Quidditch cup. I'm Quidditch captain too. Okay? Should I give something away?
No.
It's minor, stupid little side detail. Ultimately, how important is Quidditch within all 7 books?
In the grand scheme of things, not.
In the grand scheme of things, sorry for those of you who are athletes, I used to be a college athlete and everything. It's just a sport. It's not important. It gets dropped, in fact. How important is Quidditch in book 7? They don't play any. Well, Harry doesn't, you know. They do win the Quidditch Cup, book 5. Ron tears his eyes away from this splendid sight, notice, to look excitedly. Do you think this mirror shows the future? He's thinking, please God, you know. How can it? All my family are dead. Let me have another look. Now think about that for a moment. What does that tell us about Harry, that statement? Is he with Hermione in the Brains League? No. Why not? Everybody dies at some point. He says, all my parents are dead. Guess what he's going to be at some point? It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 70 years. But he too will die and, you know, proverbially join them. So he's kind of like, well, how can I join them? Because I'm going to live. He doesn't suggest he's going to live forever, but, you know, he has that, what kind of phrase can I use? That audacity of youth that says, I'm invincible, okay? Plus, he did survive, you know, the Dark Lord's curse. So, Ron, you had it to yourself all last night. Give me a bit more time. Harry, you're only holding the Quidditch Cup. What's interesting about that? I want to see my parents. Harry, you're holding a freaking participation trophy, essentially. I want to see my dead parents. Can his dead parents say anything to him? No. Can they mouth things? Could he take a lip reading course? And what else could they do? Think about this, because it's never done. Piece of paper and hold it up so he could read it. But apparently they don't think of that. By the way, we're going to have a parallel to this, not in kind of are in book 7, but there's going to be an even larger parallel in book 4. Okay? Don't say anything, just throwing that out there. Don't push me, and they hear a noise outside in the corridor, and they run back to their room. Little question to be answered maybe in a couple minutes. What's the noise they hear out in the hallway? Okay, don't answer it yet. So, Harry goes back the next night. All right, page 212. So, back again, Harry. He felt as though his insides had turned to ice. He looked behind him. Sitting on one of the desks by the wall was none other than Albus Dumbledore. Harry must have walked straight past him. I didn't see you, sir. Strange how nearsighted being invisible can make you. What does he mean?
They can see.
Okay.
If you're not worried about being caught, you're a lot more likely to get caught. Because you're not looking for people who are going to catch you.
True. I mean, kind of more literally what he means. Nearsighted's like this, right? He's not looking at anything else. Here's the question, though. Had Dumbledore been invisible? And Harry was believed to see that he was smiling. So, says Dumbledore, you, like hundreds before you, have discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised. I didn't know it was called that. And notice what Dumbledore is doing, by the way. But I expect you've realized by now what it does. Socratic method. Ask questions. Come on, Harry. Think. Think, boy. Think. How well does Harry do in this little, let's call it, oral exam? C, That's why he cheats from Hermione so much. So, it shows me my family, and it showed your friend Ron himself as head boy. I don't need a cloak to become invisible. Just, for those of you who've read all 7 novels, just let that sit and kind of perk down into your brain for a bit. Okay? Who do we find out into this book returned the invisibility cloak to Harry? Dumbledore did. Why did he need an invisibility cloak? Don't answer that part. Just want you to think about it. I mean, we find a reason why this invisibility cloak, but I think this is a problem that she doesn't address in her writing. She creates some conundrums or contradictions that if she would take my damn advice, write a revised, do a revised edition, just like Tolkien revised The Lord of the Rings in 65, okay? And just think, I won't cast aspersions on you. Idiots like me would go out and buy them, even though I probably got 5 copies of all 7 at home. So, now, can you think what the Mirror of Erised shows us all? So it showed you, your family, it showed Ron as head boy. So he's saying, extrapolate, Harry. Come on, think. Nope, not a clue. Happiest man on earth would be able to use the Mirror of Erised like a normal mirror. That is, he would look into it and see himself exactly as he is. Does that help? No. Why? Why would the happiest man see himself as he is? Before you answer that, give me another word for happy.
Content.
Content. If you are content, finish the sentence. You are what?
Desireless.
Thank you. I've never had a student say that word. Desireless. What's another word for desireless? We use it all the time. We say apathetic. Apathetic means I don't give a damn. That's not the same as desireless. Desireless means having no desires, being totally satisfied, being at one, kind of with everything. Okay? This is going to be really important later on. Yes and no, Dumbledore says. Because Harry says, it shows us what we want, whatever we want. Yes and no. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desire of our hearts. You, who've never known your family, you see them standing around you. Okay? Does it help him know them? Not at all. Ronald Weasley, who has always been overshadowed by his brothers, sees himself standing alone, the best of all of them. Is that literally what it showed him? He's had other brothers who have been head boy. Have other brothers hoisted the Quidditch Cup?
Mm-hmm.
However, this mirror will give us neither knowledge or truth. Men have wasted away before it, entranced by what they have seen or been driven mad, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible. Is it possible that Ron could become head boy?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Is it possible that Ron could hoist the Quidditch Cup? Sure. Is it possible that Harry could be surrounded by his dead family? Sure. Once he joins them. Okay? The mirror will move to a new home tomorrow, Harry, and I ask you not to go looking for it again. Did he go looking for it the first time?
No.
No, he didn't. If you ever do run across it, you will now be prepared. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that. What does he mean? You will be prepared.
Do you think he knew?
Do I think he knew what?
Well, I don't want to spoil it.
If you're talking about this book, you're not spoiling anything because we're going to
Again,
throw it all out there.
at the end, Harry gets the Philosopher's Stone
Sure.
through looking
Yep.
at the mirror of Erised. So would
When I
Dumbledore
use
saying that you would be
yeah,
prepared for that?
Dumbledore exactly knows. When I used the example the other day, when I had the names up, Albus White, Dumbledore, Bumblebee, and how bumblebees flit around, and I used what analogy? Anybody remember? Like the chess master, moving pieces on the chessboard. That is exactly what he is doing all throughout this book. And in one sense, that's what he's doing all throughout the first 6 books. Okay? Here's a question. Is Dumbledore exactly, okay, notice that word, exactly right about the mirror? Or, let me rephrase that. Might he be a little bit wrong? It's always possible. As Harry will get to know Dumbledore a little bit better, Dumbledore will admit he makes mistakes. Okay? And he says, and because of my brilliance, when I make a mistake, it tends to be a doozy. That's going to come in book 5. Okay? So, one thing I want you to think of as we read through these and as we hear Dumbledore speak with Harry as they have their debriefing. She does it in all 6 books. Actually, she does it in all 7 books. Harry has a debriefing with Dumbledore towards the very end. So that Dumbledore can kind of play Aesop and pull out the moral. Okay? I'm going to call them, the money quotes of each book. Okay? So, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that. Because there is a character in the novels who does kind of dwell on a dream. Let me put it that way. Okay? So, we get the next chapter. Nicholas Flamel. What is he known for? Keep going. With Dumbledore finding the uses, blah, 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 and creating the Sorcerer's Stone. Little trivia tidbit. Nicholas Flamel was a real 16th century French alchemist. His wife was named Perenelle. She pulls those two out of history, drops them in here. Okay? He didn't really live to be 666, I think is the number that shows up somewhere. It's not in the books. I think it's in an interview or...
I believe it is in the books somewhere that he was going to live to be 666 before he stopped taking elixir.
Well, it's in the paper, in the book that they found on page 220.
220. Yeah, he's not exactly recent if he's 665. So we know he's 665, and we'll get to there when we get to the end. Okay? So he's real. He's created the Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone. Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback, we're going to skip. Except that they get caught. I misspoke the other day. I said that they had the detention in the Forbidden Forest because of the Midnight Duel, which they didn't. Forbidden Forest. So who goes off to the Forbidden Forest?
Ron, Hermione, Malfoy, and Draco. I didn't think it was Ron's mom. He's in the movie.
That was
Is he in the movie?
He's there in the movie.
Yeah,
but he gets bitten by.
I think I've only watched the blasted thing once. So we have Hagrid go off, right? Because he's leading them. Harry, obviously. Draco.
and Fang.
Okay?
For potions.
So, is Hermione there?
Yeah, Hermione.
Yeah, because Harry and
I don't
Hermione
know
get
why-
caught by.
Yeah, no, I don't know why.
Everyone's looking at the door.
For some reason, I'm blanking her out. Anyways, so Hagrid divides them up. What are they looking for?
Unicorn.
Wounded unicorn. Okay? And you see the silvery blood, and so they start following them off. And what are they supposed to do if they run into trouble? Send up red sparks from their wands. Okay? So how does Hagrid peer them off at first? Oh, and we forgot Fang. Okay? How are they paired off at first? Hagrid, the three H's, Harry, Hermione, Draco, Neville, and Fang. Why does he change them?
Because Draco scares them.
Because Draco pulls a joke on Neville. So, they get rearranged. I'm going to talk about this in a moment, right after we do this. 252, 253. What time is it? 8:25. So who do they run into?
Creature eating.
A group of centaurs. Okay. 253. There's Ronan and Bane. And Hagrid asks, says there's somewhat bad news in this forest. This is Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, etc. Students up at the school. This is Ronan. He's a centaur. It's like, duh. He says, you learn much up at the school? Hermione, a bit. Well, that's something, I guess. Mars is bright tonight. Hagrid looks up. Yep. So he talks about the unicorn. And Ronan says, always the innocent are the first victims. So it has been for ages past. So it is now. In other words, that's the history. And that's what's going to keep happening. Hagrid, yeah. But have you seen anything, Ronan? Anything unusual? Mars is bright tonight. Unusually bright. Anything near home? You know, nothing strange down here? Forest hides many. How do centaurs talk?
In riddles.
So Bane comes in. Hello, Bane. All right. Good evening, Hagrid. Hope you're well. Notice they're very polite, by the way. You know, look, I've just been asking Ronan, have you seen anything strange, anything out of the ordinary down here? Bane looks up. Mars is bright tonight, you know. Yeah, we've heard, you know. So, Hagrid, never try, page 254 at the top, never try and get a straight answer out of a centaur. Ready stargazers, not interested in anything closer than the moon. Why are they stargazers? People who are stargazers but aren't astronomers do what? Astrology. They read the signs in the sky. Okay? So they keep talking about them. The red, sparks go off. Hagrid switches them up. Page 255. So Harry now goes off into the forest with Malfoy and Fang. They walk for nearly half an hour. They go deeper and deeper until the path becomes almost impossible because of the trees. And they see something. 255 at the bottom, last 10 lines or so. There were splashes on the roots of a tree as though the poor creature had been thrashing around and paying close by. Harry could see a clearing ahead, through the tangled branches of an ancient oak. Look, he murmured, holding out his arm to stop Malfoy. Neville, Hermione, Draco. What do they all have in common?
They're all children.
I brought them up then, right after I brought up this scene. Why?
They're very cute.
Okay. Neville. Harry rescues his remember-all. He defends Neville in that sense. Hermione. Harry and Ron go to the third floor girls' bathroom to save Hermione from the troll. Draco. Harry stops Draco from what?
Walking into potential death.
Potential death. Why?
Because he's a protector.
Because he's a protector, because this is in his nature.
Yeah.
He can't not do this. All right? It's hardwired into him. Now, Neville you can understand, right? Neville's a bumbling fool. Casting, by the way, for Neville was perfect when you see what Neville turned into. What the character, the actor who played Neville, went from pudgy little nerdy with glasses to, oh my God, he's a hunk, you know, to then Hermione. Could she have handled the troll on her own? Maybe, if she wasn't freaked out. Draco, friend, roommate, friend, not roommate, not friend, not roommate. I mean,
He has no reason to protect Draco.
why did he go, no, Draco, you go first? Like in the one Indiana Jones movie where the English guy goes, no, Indy, you go first, you know, into the pit with the snakes or whatever. Something bright white was gleaming on the ground. They inched closer. It was the unicorn. It was dead. Harry sees something, and his scar erupts. Malfoy lets out a scream and runs, so does Fang. And a centaur comes in. Are you all right? Firenze, 256, 257. You are the Potter boy. You had better get back to Hagrid. Has he met Firenze?
Nope.
The forest is not safe at this time, especially for you. Why, whatever's sucking the blood of unicorns is going to suck the blood of Harry? Sorry. I don't think I've ever used that phrase before, but go to book 4. Can you ride? It'll be quicker. My name is Firenze. So Harry gets on Firenze's back. Bane comes in and blows a gasket, you know. What are you doing? You have a human on your back. Have you no shame? Are you a common mule? Do you realize who this... Notice how Firenze's response doesn't answer any of Bane's questions. What does Firenze's response tell us about Firenze's ideas, at least, regarding Harry?
He's special.
He's
He
special,
needs to be
which can be,
protected.
used a different way, right? He should be protected. This is the Potter boy. What have you been telling him? What does that imply?
But he knows something.
They know secrets about Harry. You know, have we not read what is to come in the movements of the planets? Ronan, sure, Firenze thought he was acting for the best. Notice Ronan trying to be peacemaker, you know. For the best, what has that to do with us? Centaurs are concerned with what has been foretold. It is not our business to run around like donkeys after stray humans in our forest. Notice, centaurs are concerned with what has been foretold. Are they concerned with trying to stop it? No. It's just like, we can foretell the future, but you're screwed because we're not going to tell you. Firenze rears up. Do you not see that unicorn? Do you not understand why it was killed? Or have the planets not let you in on that secret? Okay?
I feel like that's a very aggressive dig for a centaur.
Yeah. So, Harry rides off on Firenze. Why is Bane so angry? Harry Potter, do you know what unicorn blood is used for? And we're back to the teaching. Nope. It is a monstrous thing to slay a unicorn, page 258. Only one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain would commit such a crime. The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you are an inch from death, but at a terrible price. What's the price? You have slain something pure and defenseless to save yourself. So you've sacrificed something. Okay? But you will have but a half life, a cursed life, from the moment the blood touches your lips. In other words, you won't be really fully alive. You'll be partially alive and kind of like partially dead. Harry, golly gee, Mr. Friends, who'd be that desperate? If you're going to be cursed forever, death's better, isn't it? Come off. What does Harry mean by that? I didn't used to ask this question, but 20 years on, I kind of have to these days. What does Harry mean by death's better than living, what do you call it? To be cursed forever. How is death better than that?
Some find peace in death.
Louder?
Some find peace in death, and I think that the only solution from evil and a curse, I guess, based off what Harry's talking about, is death.
True.
But it's not.
But if you're cursed forever, at least what? At least you're alive.
Yeah.
Rowling, when she wrote this, I don't know if she still thinks this today, but Rowling, when she wrote this, seemed to, at that point, believe death is preferable to some things. Death is better than living with certain baggage, let's put it that way. So, what baggage is not worth carrying around? What curse is not worth going on with? Or what things are worth dying for? Or are there things worth dying for? Whether or not you individually think this, your generation, according to polls in surveys, kind of tends to say, no, there's really nothing worth dying for. There aren't ideas worth dying for. There aren't values worth dying for. There might be people, your loved ones, brother, sister, mother, father, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, dog, I don't know, People run out in the street in front of cars to rescue an animal. Dog lives, person's dead, kind of a thing, okay? Death's better. We're going to meet someone who says, death is never better. Death is never preferable, okay? Ferenz responds, it is. Death is preferable to that. Unless all you need is to stay alive long enough to drink something else, something that will bring you back to full strength and power. But notice, full strength and power doesn't say anything about the being cursed forever. Something that will mean you can never die. And then what's he do? He asks a $100,000 question. Mr. Potter, do you know what is hidden in the school at this very moment? And Harry says, the Philosopher's Stone. How does he know?
Because Hermione spelled it out for him.
He's followed a lot of little clues, right? What was Hagrid doing in Vault 753? 713. He got something that Dumbledore entrusted him to do, and they piece it all together. The elixir of life. Can you think of nobody who has waited many years? Kind of like, come on, Harry. The kid's, a 220-watt bulb, and he's only getting 110 watts into that sucker. Can you think of nobody who has waited many years to return to power, who has clung to life, awaiting their chance? Interesting image. It was as though an iron fist had clenched suddenly around Harry's heart. I've literally never thought about that line before. Why does it feel like he has a fist around his heart?
Fear.
Fear? Do you mean, no, not him. Volt and Hermione and Hagrid burst in. Okay? So Friends parts from Harry and says, the planets have been read wrongly, just 1 second before now, even by centaurs. I hope this is one of the times. Well, it's not such a cheery note to leave them on. Yes?
I was going to ask a question about the iron fist thing. Could
Uh-huh.
that be foreshadowing to book 7 at Malfoy Manor? With Wormtail?
Possibly. Without giving it, that's silver, it's not iron, a little different. Possibly. No, it couldn't be that. I was just thinking of something else from book 4. Doesn't apply there. Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting. I'll have to think about that more. So, they go back, and Harry and Ron go to their dorm room, and what is on Harry's bed? That he left beside at the astronomy tower when they, delivered Norbert his invisibility cloak with a note, just in case. Like, use it, So, through the trap door, we're going to skip a bunch. They figure everything out. They know about Fluffy, right? What did Hagrid give Harry for Christmas? Why?
Music comes. Fluffy now.
Yeah, we know that. Harry ever show any affinity for music?
No.
Harry ever show any affinity for woodwind instruments? No. Why? It is a simple plot device. Okay? Without it, he's not getting through. Okay? Well, without it, he's not even starting. He's not going to get past Fluffy. By the way, what is Fluffy based on? Just Cerberus, the guardian to Styx. So, Harry says, 270. I'm going through the trap door. I'm going out of here tonight. I'm going to try and get the stone first. Ron, you're mad. Hermione, you can't. You'll be expelled. Harry, so what? Don't you understand? If Snape gets hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Why does he think it's Snape?
They've only seen one side of it, and they've only ever seen Snape's reactions to things, and they all look very suspicious.
Okay. A little more even obvious than that.
As the quote in the next chapter goes, he does seem like the type.
Snape hates Harry, right?
Yeah.
Does he secretly really like Harry? Even, when we get to book 7, don't give anything away. No, he doesn't like Harry, period. Okay? What else do they think they caught Snape doing?
Trying to sneak through the trap on Halloween.
Okay, what else?
Trying to kill Harry in the Quidditch.
Quidditch match. He's sitting there, muttering the spell, and Hermione lights his robes on fire and stuff. So, Harry says, if Snape gets hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Says the name. Haven't you heard what it was like when he was trying to take over? Has Harry heard? Has Harry actually cracked open any real books? No. So how does he know? Who would have heard what it was like before? Ron. He grew up in a house full of wizards. His father works for the Ministry of Magic. Hermione wouldn't. She wouldn't have had a clue. Of course, she would have read everything.
Especially because of the group that comes back in book 5.
Right.
His parents are part of.
Right. Well, Ron's parents weren't part of the original.
The original?
No.
They were? Oh.
Nope, that's one of the changes. So, He says, there won't be any Hogwarts to get expelled from. He'll flatten it or turn it into a school for the dark arts. Losing points doesn't matter anymore, can't you see? Do you think he'll leave you and your families alone if Gryffindor wins the House Cup? If I get caught before I can get to the stone, well, I'll have to go back to the Dursleys and wait for Voldemort to find me there. Is there a problem with that? I heard somebody say yes. Why?
It's like a spoiler kind of.
Okay. Why else though? Why does Harry assume Voldemort is going to go to the Dursleys to find him? Has anybody told him why he was raised at the Dursleys? Doesn't happen until book 5. Okay.
The only reason he thinks that Voldemort hasn't found it and killed him is because of the fact that he thinks that Voldemort's been too weak. But he's had allies.
But why would he think Voldemort wants to kill him personally?
Because he failed before.
He tried to kill him once before when he killed his parents, but does that necessarily mean there's something about Harry as opposed to just the family?
No, it's kind of about revenge because Harry was just a baby and destroyed Voldemort's powers.
Sure.
Harry shouldn't know that Voldemort wants to kill him.
Not yet. Because he's going to ask you a question in a few minutes.
I mean, it feels like a good assumption, though. Like, oh, I was the one who brought about the downfall of the greatest dark wizard. He's
Okay.
probably not happy about that.
Okay. I agree it's a fair assumption. Let me back up for just a moment then. Is it a fair assumption for someone that we've seen throughout the novel so far, for someone like Harry to come to?
No.
Who would come to this assumption?
Hermione.
Hermione would put 2 and 2 together and arrive at 400,000, She would see it all clearly. Harry, thus far, I mean, just the little interview with Firenze, he's not that quick. Mentally, he's not that quick. He'll get quicker, okay? He's good on his feet. Witness these 3 instances. That is, he responds fast. Why? His instincts all seem to be good. Talent? Oh my, yes. Okay? Not a bad mind. Thirst to prove himself. All those characteristics are coming out right here. So, if I get caught before I get to the stone, I'll have to go back to the Dursleys, wait for Voldemort to find me there. It's only dying a bit later than I would have because I'm never going over to the dark side. Who the hell asked him to?
Only.
Has Snape said, Harry, join in with me? No. Has Malfoy? He kind of alluded, make friends with me, I can introduce you to the right people. Nothing else like that. I mean, it's like she's watching Star Wars while she's typing this, And there's the scene with Darth Vader asking Luke, join with me, we'll rule the galaxy, and, cuts his hand off, and Luke, no. I'm going through that trapdoor tonight. Nothing you two say is going to stop me. Voldemort killed my parents, remember. Dad introduces what theme?
Revenge.
Revenge. And I'm going to kill the SOB. Okay? Which is going to come up again later on. End of book 5. All right? Hermione, you're right, Harry. I'll use invisibility cloak. It's just lucky I got it back. Did luck have anything to do with it? No. Okay? Ron, will it cover all 3 of us? What do you mean all 3 of us? Well, we're going to. How do you think you'd get to the stone without us? Hermione says. Good question, right? How far would Harry get without Ron and Hermione?
The first one.
He'd get through the trapdoor and then what?
He died.
He'd die. Because what do they land in?
The Devil's Snare.
Devil's Snare. Comes back up later on, book 5. So, I need more board. Through the trapdoor involves what?
Mud, fluffy.
Tests or Challenges. Test number 1. Trap door. Or Fluffy. Who creates it? Hagrid. Test number 2. Devil snare. Who set it up? Professor. Not Sprout. Sprout. Test number 3.
Keys.
Flying keys. And that was Flitwick, who we've not even discussed at all, because we didn't talk about, Wingardium Leviosa and all that stuff. 4.
Chess.
Where's the troll?
Trolls after.
Troll's after the chess? Sorry, I'm blanking out. Chess, and that's, and notice, that's Ron, okay?
Bye, Ron.
That's Harry,
That's Hermione the Dillson.
yep, that's Hermione. That's Harry, okay, 5, that's the troll. Troll. 6, seven,
Potion, wait, no. Here.
and that's Dumbledore, okay? So you get 7 teachers, kind of, Hagrid's not a teacher, but, he counts, involved. So, troll, coral, potions, mirror,
Harry.
with an assist by Dumbledore. So if you ever see it again, et cetera, et cetera. Who tries to stop them? And why? Neville, why?
Because he doesn't want to lose points.
He doesn't want to lose points. I mean, they're right up there at the top. I mean, they're not really. So Hermione Petrificus Totalis, to make a verb out of it, freezes him, and they go through. Okay? So everything's pretty easy until you get here.
He's got to sacrifice.
What has to happen? Leah?
Oh, he has to sacrifice. Ron has to sacrifice himself as the knight in order to win the chess match.
And how does he put it? He says sometimes, it's on 283.
You've got to make some sacrifices. I'll make my move. She'll take me.
Yeah, exact middle of the page. But do you want to stop Snape or not? Ron, look, if you don't hurry up, he'll already have the stone. Ready? Here I go. Don't hang around once you've won. He steps forward, and the White Queen knocks him down. And Harry and Hermione don't know what.
He's okay.
If he's okay or not. Okay? They get to the potions. What is potions really?
Logic.
It's logic. Ron got him through the chess match. If Hermione went here, Harry'd be toast, right? Because logic, no way. He gets through there, and they go to the potions. 287. Just before Harry goes across, Hermione dashes at him, throws her arms around him. He's like, Hermione, Harry, you're a great wizard, I'm not as good as you. Very embarrassed as she let go of him. She says, you're a great wizard. Harry understands that to mean what? I'm really good in class. Hermione. Me, books and cleverness. There are more important things. In other words, there are other ways to be great. Friendship and bravery. See, the people who were burning the books before reading them didn't see there are other kinds of magic, such as bravery, Friendliness?
Friendship.
Friendship, thank you. Friendliness will work. Loyalty. Honor. Self-sacrifice. Right? Because it's really easy to sacrifice somebody's pig or cow or goat. It's a lot harder to do it when it's yourself. And what do all these kind of fall under? What big virtue? Love. So, Harry, be careful. You drink first. I always find that kind of funny. So here he goes through. It was Quirrell. You, me. But I thought Snape. Severus, yes, Severus, page 288, does seem the type, doesn't he? And she throws out a red herring. So useful to have him swooping around like an overgrown bat. Why did I call that a red herring?
Because it kind of sounds like he's working with him.
Okay, what else? Anybody know what a red herring is in logic?
It's just kind of a blatant and obvious clues that people will miss.
It's a clue to throw you off track. Okay? Why is this a clue to throw us off track? Snape is going to repeatedly be referred to as or like a bat. Even going to the final novel. I'm going to give something little away. He leaves Hogwarts by jumping through a window and flying away like a giant bat, we're told.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
He's not a vampire bat, however. And we're going to see something in book 3. Okay? Snape is going to assign students a big, long essay, like 3.5 feet long, if I remember right, on werewolves. And when that teacher comes back, he's going to assign an essay on vampires. Kind of turning the tables. She's cruel, Rowling is. So they talk back and forth. And they talk about Voldemort. And Harry asks, why does Snape hate me so much? He says, oh, he does hate you. He and your father were here together. He hated your father hated him, So, Harry says, I caught you a few days ago. You were sobbing. I thought Snape was, he says, yeah, sometimes I find it hard to follow my master's orders. What, he's here with you now? Top of 291. He is with me wherever I go. I met him when I traveled around the world. A foolish young man I was then, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Lord Voldemort showed me how wrong I was. There is no good and evil, there is only power, and those too weak to seek it. Now, that line could have come straight out of the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, the founder of the nihilist movement of philosophy. Nihilism says, ultimately, there is no meaning to life, period. We live in a crapshoot. And we are nothing but the dice that somebody has rolled. That's it. Your life has no meaning. Get away from the idea that it does. That's what nihilism teaches. That's not what I teach, by the way. So, look at what he said again. I was a foolish young man full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. What does he mean in just that line?
His morals don't exist anymore.
There is no such thing as good and evil. Good and evil are totally irrelevant. Nietzsche wrote a book, Beyond Good and Evil. Okay? Nietzsche was the one who came up with the phrase, the Übermensch. Anybody know what that means? You're familiar with it, with the guy with the blue tights and the red cape.
Superman.
The Superman. The person who is not bound by common laws and morality. The person who can rise above all that. Okay? And then he explains, there is no good and evil, there is only power. Nietzsche wrote another work, the will to power. All right? And those, notice, not strong enough to grab it, but those too weak to seek it. Think Lord of the Rings. Who does that apply to? Aragorn, Gandalf, Glorfindel, Elrond, Galadriel, Celeborn. Pick everybody who doesn't choose the ring. Okay? So, they're standing in front of the mirror, and what's Harry thinking? What do I want more than anything in the world? To keep the ring from Lord Sauron. To keep the stone from Voldemort. And plop,
It's in his pocket.
pops into his pocket. So Voldemort then speaks. Okay? Let me speak to him. 293, face to face. Master, you're not trying. I can't, Harry Potter. See what I become, your shadow, blah, blah, blah. So, 294. Don't be a fool. Better save your own life. Next 3 words. And join me. In no other books do we hear Voldemort give him that offer. Or you'll meet the same end as your parents. They died begging me for mercy. Okay? So, how does Harry win? Not like in the film. He doesn't touch Quirrell until Quirrell, into little bits of dust and stuff. Okay? 296. 295. 295, bottom. Oh, shit. Harry wakes up. And we're told something gold was glinting just above him. There's a very clear, rational, logical explanation. But I think she does the something gold glinting just above him also because there's some symbolism going on here. Okay? The snitch. He tries to catch it. Is it the snitch? He blinks. It wasn't the snitch at all. It was a pair of glasses. How strange. He blinks again. And now it's Dumbledore's face. He opens his eyes. He sees gold. It's not clear what it is. So one vision. He tries to reach it because he thinks it's a snitch. Third time, it takes the shape of, Dumbledore's face and eyes. Yes?
Because he thinks it's the snitch, does that imply that he was invisible and it was just his glasses floating above Harry?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just Harry's kind of coming out of the... How long was he unconscious?
3
Three.
He also didn't have his glasses on, which, might be detail, but
Wait, who didn't have glasses on?
one would assume Harry didn't have his glasses on since he was, unconscious for 3 days.
Well, yeah, you would think that would be the case, that he wouldn't have them on. We're not actually told that he doesn't have them on, but where did Harry go when he went through, and Ron and Hermione, when they went through the trap door? So trap door is like here, and then if there were a trap door right here, where would you go to? Down below. Of course, we're 3 floors up. Assume we're on the ground level. You go down, and you go where? Into the ground, into the earth. Have any of you read Joseph Campbell, The Whole Myth of the Hero and the Hero's Journey and all that kind of stuff? It's kind of overblown. Look at mythic stories, how they all form one myth called the monomyth, where the hero has to go down underground and then rise up again because it's the death and resurrection stuff. It's also very Christian. So he goes down into the ground, and what proverbially, metaphorically happens? He dies. Notice, he's in the infirmary for 3 days. Okay? And when he wakes up, he sees gold. Lots of symbolism going on there. So, the stone, the Quirrell, he's got the stone. Shh, calm yourself. Okay? And Harry looks around and there's all kinds of stuff, including a toilet seat. You know, tokens from your friends and admirers, everything that happened down in the, you know, down there, wherever he calls it, down in the dungeons, is a great secret, so of course everybody knows about it. Question? Okay. So, how long have I been in here? 3 days. The stone. He says, I see you are not to be distracted. What does the word distracted literally mean? Tracted is related to the word for tractor and also to the word for draw, not this kind of draw, but like to draw. It means to be pulled. Away. All right? So I'm not going to be able to pull your mind away from what you want to focus on. Okay. I arrived in time to take the stone. You were doing well on your own. Okay. I arrived just in time, top of 297, to pull Quirrell off you. It was you. I feared I might be too late. You nearly were. I couldn't have kept him off the stone. Not the stone, boy. In other words, the stone's unimportant, Harry. It's you. No. I was afraid for you. The stone's been destroyed. But your friend, Nicholas Flamel. Notice Dumbledore's response. Oh, you know about Nicholas. Next sentence. Second word. You did do the thing properly, didn't you? Why the did? I mean, grammatically it needs to be there. Why else? It's emphatic. What's it emphasizing?
That Harry did do his research before he rushed off into.
I knew you were going to go after this. And what did you do? You did your research.
Yeah, which you didn't expect.
Way to go, Harry. You're gonna, you're not so dumb, That's the you did do it properly. Nicholas and I have had a little chat. We agree it's all for the best, but they're gonna die. They have enough elixir to set their affairs in order, and then yes, they will die. Dumbledore smiled at the look of amazement. To one as young as you, I'm sure it seems incredible. Incredible means what? Unbelievable. It doesn't mean amazing, wow, wonderful. It means unbelievable. But to Nicholas and Perenelle, it really is like going to bed after a very, very long day. After all, money, quote. In this kind of, in one sense, governs or informs all the remaining 6 novels. You could almost trace everything back to this. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Notice there's some qualifications there. Is it just, hey, you die and it's a great adventure? No. The mind must be well-organized. Why is Nearly Headless Nick Nearly Headless Nick? Because his mind wasn't well organized when he died, or the Bloody Baron. Okay? The stone was really not such a wonderful thing. Why not? As much money in life as you could want. And then notice what he says. The 2 things most human beings would choose above all. So Dumbledore kind of makes a blanket statement there. Most humans would choose immortality and untold riches above everything else. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are worst for them. So if immortality here in the flesh and untold wealth, untold meaning U-N-T-O-L-D, not U-N-T-O-L-D, U-N-T-O-L-L-E-D, uncounted, uncountable wealth. If those are the 2 things that are worst for people, you would think the opposite would be the 2 things best for people, right? I mean, if you're talking about worst case scenario, what would the opposite of that be? Best case scenario. So if there's something that's worse for you, what would then be best for you? It would be the opposite of that. So what's the opposite of immortality in the flesh?
Death.
Death, or maybe
Immortality in the spirit.
immortality in the spirit. That is not this. Okay? If untold, uncountable wealth is one of the worst things, what's the opposite? Poverty? I don't know if this is correct, by the way. But I think there's a way of reading it, of saying that Dumbledore is suggesting maybe death and poverty, let's say, not material poverty, but another kind of poverty. Maybe those aren't the worst things in the world. Who, that we've kind of been introduced to, would think they're the worst things in the world?
Draco.
Voldemort. Yeah, probably Draco. Why? Bad faith.
Yeah.
Okay? Look at Harry's response. He lay there, lost for words. Why? Because it's like Dumbledore's trying to teach my word, don't have to accept it by any means. Some kind of quote unquote spiritual lesson that, how is Harry primed for that?
No.
Not at all. Why? Louder? He just woke up from a coma. Why else?
He's 11.
He's only 11. How's he been raised for
I was about to
10
say,
years?
I feel like the Dursleys were not very spiritual people if they believe in.
Why
if they
not?
Believe in nonsense, and
Because they don't hold to anything strange or mysterious.
and faith is one of the most mysterious and unexplained things.
You start talking about things you cannot see, and you're into the strange and mysterious.
Yeah.
So, Harry says, you know who? Voldemort, Harry. Call him Voldemort. Always use the proper name for things. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. Yeah, him. He's going to try and come back, right? He hasn't gone. Nope, he's not. While you may only have delayed his return to power, it will merely take someone else who's prepared to fight what seems a losing battle. What did Gandalf tell Frodo? We need to try to do something with the ring now. Why? So that future generations don't have to deal with it. What will they have to deal with? He says, after a respite, the shadow always takes a new form. In other words, after us, Frodo, in the age of men, evil will take a new shape. Hitler, Stalin, Mao, pick your evil baddie, you know. Go on Netflix and watch about Jeffrey Dahmer if you were so twisted, in my sense. So, Harry nods. He says, there's some things I'd like some answers to. Things I want to know the truth about. Phew, the truth, Harry. It's a beautiful and terrible thing. We should treat it with caution. He says, I will answer your questions unless I have very good reason not to, in which case I shall not, of course, lie. Liar, liar, pants on fire. He is lying to Harry. He can tell him. Okay? He doesn't want to. Okay. Voldemort said that he only killed my mother because she tried to stop him from killing me, right? How did she die? Literally standing in front of Harry, notice the pose, by the way, over his cradle, facing Voldemort. No, not Harry, not Harry, take me. Get out of the way, you silly girl, you know. Why would he want to kill me in the first place? See, but Harry's already kind of alluded to that. I'll go back to the Dursleys and I'll just have to wait for Voldemort to get me then. But he didn't know that Voldemort specifically was out to get him. Dumbledore can't tell you. Yes, he can. Question is, which Dumbledore's going to raise in book 5, should I have told him? Would it have changed? Could she have written the stories In a similar fashion with having Dumbledore tell Harry the truth now. We're not going to answer what the truth is until later. Okay? So, he talks about why Quirrell couldn't touch him. Your mother died to save you. Voldemort cannot understand love. Your mother's love left a powerful mark. And Harry kind of looks around. No, not that kind of mark. Okay? Invisibility cloak. Your father left it in my possession. Intentionally? Just leave that there for a moment. Talks about how badly Snape hated his father, etc. How do they end up winning the House Cup? Harry, Ron, and Hermione get points, and more importantly, Neville gets points. Why?
Because he stood up against his friend because his father was standing against an enemy.
It's easy to stand up against enemies, right? Against clear enemies. That's easy. What about when your friend makes a mistake? Okay, who's the audience? When the first book is written, 10, 11, 12 years old. What is the number one problem? Well, it used to be, I don't know what it is these days, all the gender nonsense. What's the number one problem confronting 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids?
Bullying and peer pressure.
Peer pressure. That's it. And Neville doesn't. I don't mean Neville doesn't understand it. Neville doesn't go along with it. He bucks it. Which tells us what about Neville?
He's strong.
He's strong. He's inept, but he's strong. Okay, he's got the right idea. Chamber of Secrets. Okay. Rowling says in one of her interviews, because this book kind of, how do I put this? Critically, historically, whatever. This book hasn't been seen to be as important as some of the others. But there's something said in here in the debriefing scene that's really important, okay? That we'll talk about. So, the worst birthday. Well, why does Harry have a bad birthday? Because none of his friends have written him. And then we get introduced to Dobby. And we find out why Harry's had a bad birthday. Okay? So, Dobby shows up, second chapter, page 12, 13. And notice what Harry does. Page 12. Harry Potter, such an honor. Thank you. What are you? Who are you? Dobby, sir, just Dobby, Harry, not a good time for you to be here. So he and Dobby talk some more. And Dobby says, I have something terrible to tell you. And Harry says, sit down. And Dobby goes bananas. Harry's like, stop. Didn't mean to offend you. Dobby has never been asked to sit down by a wizard like an equal. What do we immediately get introduced to?
Slavery.
Slavery, okay, possibly.
Servitude, I suppose.
Servitude,
Not if your rankings or social.
social hierarchy, but social hierarchy, whether you like it or not, is built into us psychologically. You could try to fight against it as much as you want. We have this notion of hierarchy hardwired into us. Prejudice? How about real racism? Not racism based on skin color, but racism based on actual race. Speciesism. Okay? Kind of a thing. So, they keep talking, and Harry says, you can't have met many decent wizards. Dobby shakes his head and then realizes, oops, I just did something bad, and starts banging his head on the window. Shh, stop it, Harry says. Dobby talks about, I have to serve the family I'm enslaved to forever, till I die. They don't know I'm here. Page 14, why don't you leave? House elf must be set free. The family will never set Dobby free. Harry, and I thought I had a bad staying here for another 4 weeks. What has Harry just done?
Empathize.
He's empathized. I thought I had it bad. In other words, compared to you, I've got it great. This makes the Dursleys sound almost human. Can't anyone help you? Can't I? We could go down through all 7 books, and we could just keep a list. And when we get to the end of book 7, what would be put down? Who does Harry try to protect, So, don't be ashamed of your greatness or protect your goodness. What does he mean by greatness?
Kindness.
No, that's part of the goodness.
His ability to have defeated Voldemort.
You defeated Voldemort. First of all, as a baby, and then last year. But your goodness, that's something else. Remember what Ollivander said to Harry? He says, about the one that gave that to you, he did great things, great and terrible things, all right? You have to admit, Voldemort is great at what he does. He's not good for doing it, all right? So he tells Harry, we must expect great things from you. Is he using great in the same sense? I don't think he is. So, Dobby. Harry, what have you heard about my greatness? Load of rubbish. I'm not even complimenting, Hermione's great. Harry Potter is humble and modest. So, great, good, humble, modest. Harry Potter speaks not of his triumph over he who must not be named. Voldemort, speak not, sorry, forgot, You defeated him again just a few weeks ago. Harry, yeah. Notice, it was a day that ended in Y, so, I did it. Harry Potter is valiant and bold. So, great, good, humble, modest, valiant, bold. These are all what? These things, they're all virtues. Notice, he's not conniving. He's not duplicitous. He's not ambitious. All right? So if he'd been put into Slytherin, he says, you got to stay here. You can't go back to Hogwarts. There's a plot. Harry, middle of 16. He must stay where he is safe. He is too great, too good to lose. Harry, why? And he talks about the plot. Harry Potter must not put himself in peril. He is too important for what? Does Dobby know?
Yeah.
Does Dobby know? I mean, the grand plot.
No.
Book 7, grand. No, he doesn't. What does he mean then? Too great, too good, too important for who? He's going to tell us. For people like Dobby. Okay? Harry mentions Dumbledore. Dobby bows his head like in reverence, Dobby admits to stopping his letters. Says to Harry he'll give them back if he promises. Harry doesn't. Dobby drops the pudding. Harry gets in trouble. The Weasleys come and rescue Harry. The Weasleys get in trouble for coming and rescuing Harry. And we go to Flourish and Blots. What happens at Flourish and Blots? Couple of things. First of all, what new character do we get introduced to? Lucius Malfoy. We've heard of him, but we haven't met him. Gilderoy Lockhart. He's referred to at the Burrow because Mrs. Weasley apparently what? She has the hots for him, okay? Why?
Because he's charismatic.
Is he charismatic? What does he have on the front of every one of his books? A picture of him. How many books have you ever seen in a bookstore with the picture of the author on the cover? They're usually on the back or on the flyleaf, even if it's an autobiography. Okay? He's incredibly narcissistic. He's egotistical. Look at his name. We have 1 minute. Gilderoy Lockhart. Gild, gold, to in gilt, to cover with gold, of Roy, French for the king. So gold of the king, or the golden king, if you want. Lockhart. What's locked in Lockhart's heart? Himself. Does his heart have any room for anybody else? No. Okay? So, give something away. What's going to happen to good old Gilderoy Lockhart?
He forgets himself.
Yes and no. He does kind of forget himself, but what else? As he kind of pieces things back, he gets kind of literally locked inside himself. Okay? So, M. Flourish-and-Blots, what happens between... we don't have time. We'll stop there. I was going to say, what happens between Arthur and Lucius? We're going to come back here and get even farther behind.